Forget-me-not flowers were not unfamiliar to me. I had tried drawing them before. However, since I never managed to create a composition I was truly satisfied with, I decided to return to them once again. This time, I approached the page with more care and intention, trying to give the process the attention it deserves. At first glance, they do not seem particularly challenging to draw. Five-petaled, star-shaped flowers, a form I have become quite accustomed to, and most commonly known in soft shades of pale blue. And yet, despite their apparent simplicity and familiarity, I have to admit that I struggled more than I expected while working on this page. Even though drawing these flowers was challenging at times, I found the process deeply rewarding, and while working on this page, I genuinely felt that the time I spent was worth it. Forget-me-nots have a very calming presence with their soft, gentle colors and small, delicate forms that feel almost comforting to look at. Beyond their visual charm, however, they carry a remarkable historical and cultural weight. As symbols, they have been used repeatedly across different contexts. During World War II, forget-me-nots were worn as a Masonic emblem in Germany, serving as a secret sign of membership. In many countries, the flower has also become a symbol of remembrance for those who lost their lives in wars, especially fallen soldiers of the World War. Outside of wartime associations, the forget-me-not is also linked to illness through its name. It has become one of the symbols used by Alzheimer's foundations and dementia awareness organizations, representing memory loss and those who suffer from cognitive decline. In the history of art, forget-me-nots frequently appear in funerary portraits where they serve as a quiet reminder of loved ones who have passed away. And many places in the world like Alaska, Britain, Sweden use forget-me-nots as an official flower or a counterflower for some area or provinces. Much of the forget-me-not's strong association with loss and remembrance is believed to originate from a German legend. Since the medieval period, the flower has come to symbolize everlasting love and devotion, rooted in a tragic origin story behind its name. According to the legend, a knight was walking along the banks of the Danube River with his lady when he bent down to pick a small blue flower for her. As he reached for it, he lost his balance, fell into the river, and was swept away by the current. With his last strength, he threw the flowers to his beloved and cried out his final words, "Forget-me-not." Stories like this feel especially compelling to me as someone interested in concept art and world building. They show how symbols are not just visual elements but carriers of emotion, memory, and narrative. When creating a new world, inventing symbols and imagining the myths behind their origins can be just as meaningful and enjoyable as designing the worlds themselves. While working on this page, I didn't focus on just a single forget-me-not species. Instead, I chose several different species from the same genus and spent quite a bit of time thinking about how they would work together compositionally. Even though I know I will probably revisit and edit these pages later, I still try to make the initial composition as strong as possible. I like having a sense of variety on the page, because when I draw multiple species from the same genus, too much repetition can reduce the fun of the drawing process and also make the page less engaging to look at afterward. I knew blue tones would naturally dominate this study, but I deliberately included white and yellow species as well to add visual contrast and a bit more life to the page. Even within the blues, I tried to explore different shades and intensities so the page wouldn't feel flat or monotonous. The flowers from this genus are commonly known as forget-me-nots, but also scorpion grasses. I think scorpion grass is a name that comes from the distinctive curved form of the flowering stems. All these species belong to the genus myosotis. These plants are characterized by their small, delicate flowers, usually arranged in loose cymes that gradually unfurl as they grow. Each individual flower has a simple but recognizable structure, five-rounded, slightly overlapping petals, forming a soft star-like shape, often with a contrasting yellow or white eye at the center. But as I said, while the flowers may appear visually modest at first glance, their repetition and clustering create a strong overall rhythm and pattern. From a shape perspective, forget-me-nots rely on subtle variations rather than dramatic forms. The petals are gently curved with smooth edges and a shallow depth, giving the flowers a calm, almost floating quality. The thin stems and narrow leaves provide a light, airy framework that supports the blossoms without overpowering them. For me, this balance between simplicity and repetition makes the genus especially interesting to study, as it shows how small, restrained shapes can still create a visually rich and memorable presence when viewed as a whole. Drawing forget-me-nots turned out to be far more time consuming than I expected. Repeating the same small flower shape over and over required a level of patience and focus that was surprisingly demanding. Because the flowers are so similar to one another, even a small mistake in proportion or spacing became very noticeable, and fixing one area often meant adjusting the surrounding ones as well. I struggled with keeping the petals consistent while still making each flower feel slightly different, and balancing the density of the clusters without making them look stiff or crowded was another challenge. Their simplicity leaves very little room to hide errors, which made the process slow, but also pushed me to be more attentive with every small decision. Despite the challenges, this page ended up being incredibly inspiring for me. Spending so much time with a single genus forced me to observe subtle differences in shape, color, and rhythm, and that kind of close study was the thing that I was searching more for. It always feeds back into my drawing practice in unexpected ways. Beyond illustration, learning about the symbolism and stories connected to forget-me-nots sparked new world-building ideas as well. Flowers like these show how even the smallest, most delicate forms can carry deep emotional weight and cultural meaning, and that makes them powerful tools for storytelling. This is why I enjoy combining research, drawing, and imagination. Each study becomes more than just a sketch and slowly turns into a building block for richer visual worlds I want to explore in the future. So, I hope to continue learning about new species and wish to see you in the next study.